What's good, y'all? Just wanted to basically explain this episode. This is a late episode. This episode was recorded last week, March 27th. So if you're listening to this and wondering why we're talking about old stuff, this is last week's episode. This week's episode will be released today, within an hour of when this episode 43, is released. Episode 44 will be released within the hour once again. My apologies, our apologies for the late release of this episode. We get into why this episode is coming out now on episode 44. Basically, we tried to do a little bit too much, so the editing process took a lot longer than we thought. So without further ado, episode 43.
The Knicks Take podcast.
What it do? Mobbing with the crew, nothing new. I thought you knew, thought I was falling off. Blessings keep on falling through. Oh, don't panic, dog. Bro, a boo, I can't lose. No,
What's good, y'all? I am JAH So Focused.
I'm French, the Brohost, and we would like to welcome you to
The Knicks Take podcast. The Knicks Take podcast.
This is
Knicks Take
episode
podcast.
43.
And this is a weekly podcast where we cover the most intriguing Knicks news of the week.
And if you want to find us on our socials, you can check us out first on Twitter at The Knicks Take.
Then go to YouTube and search Knicks Take videos.
And you can also find us on Instagram at The Knicks Take.
And lastly, on Facebook at Knicks Take Media. French, my brother, how was your week, sir?
Another busy, work-fulfilling week. Coming up with new ways to better my income situation. You know what I'm saying? Outside of the podcast, you always got to look for other ways for growth. So nothing too crazy to update yet. So how was your week?
Similarly, my week has been mostly about work. I went back to work last week. This week I'm back to work full duty. Got the call from my doctor. Well, not really a call. I went to visit him. Spoke to my doctor. He was like, "Yeah, you're good. You're good to go back. Now it's just about strength. Just strengthen up that hand, and you'll be fine." So
And do
that
some
was good news.
push-ups.
Yeah, I did a pull up the other day. I was happy about that. So I'm gonna get that back
You only
up.
did
I'm gonna
one?
try and get. Well, there's still pain in my hand, so it's not. I ain't trying to overdo it. Not trying to go back to the doctor. Not trying to go back to the hospital. Not trying to go back out. So just did one. It was like, all
I
right,
feel you.
I can do one. It hurt a little bit. I'm gonna leave it at that. Tomorrow I'll do 2. Tomorrow, next day I'll do 3. You know what I mean? Just keep going. Just keep pushing.
Mhm.
That was my
Feel
week,
you.
sir.
And we covered the Knicks losing a nail biter in Brooklyn on the last episode before going to win against Portland and Washington. So, you wanted to mention something also last week that you didn't get to
Yeah.
share.
So yeah, because after the podcast we talked about it immediately. We were like, "Yo, did you listen to the Knicks Film School podcast when they had Channing Frye on there?" And we was like, "Oh, we should have talked about that." Like immediately
Yeah.
after recording. And I was mad because it was something that I wanted to try to figure out a way to talk about it, and then I just never remembered. Channing Frye was on the Knicks Film School podcast last week, speaking with Jonathan Macri, a podcaster who we usually mention, while we're talking. And Channing
Mhm.
Frye had a lot of interesting things to say. A lot of stories from when he was on the Knicks. He was only on the Knicks for 2 years, drafted by the Knicks. One of my favorite players while he was on the Knicks, as far as like young players, young talent, guys that I thought had a future, was going to be a good, solid contributor, either as a starter or as a backup. I actually overhyped him his rookie year. He went over that experience. And then he talked about his championship experiences, playing with the Cavs, playing with LeBron, playing against Steph. And then he gave some suggestions as far as how the Knicks can be better. And he had Jonathan Macri guess what former superstar the Knicks should trade for.
I
Macri was
hated his
unable.
answer.
Macri was unable to guess. Channing Frye said, "Yo, there's this former superstar, and again, not from this year, but the year before. The year before, he was playing good. You know, Russell Westbrook.
That boy is good."
Everybody listening was like, oh, he's not really trying to say
Excuse
Russell Westbrook.
me?
And listen, I understand where it comes from, because Russell Westbrook last season, I do believe he like led the league in assists per game. He ended that season helping the Wizards get to the playoffs. He finished the season off pretty well. He was still a triple-double threat, but he was still playing like trash last season for a good portion of it. And this season, he's even more so playing like trash. So, yeah, that boy is
Good and terrible.
yeah, no. We don't want
I
that boy.
couldn't listen. After he said Russell Westbrook, that's when I stopped listening to the episode.
Well, that was the end
I
of the
hit
episode.
pause, and that was the end of the episode for me personally, because I'm like, it's how to say you don't really watch the Knicks without saying you don't really watch the Knicks. Like, if you
No,
really
honestly,
watch the Knicks, what needs does Russell Westbrook address for this team?
well, I can answer that question. It's just about whether he fills those needs effectively. Russell Westbrook gets to the paint. Russell Westbrook, can man the offense. If you have Julius Randle still there, Julius Randle will defer to Russell Westbrook because he's a former All-Star, because he's a veteran. All of the things that when Derrick Rose is on the court, the reasons why you defer to Derrick Rose are the reason why you would defer to Russell Westbrook. He used to be a good finisher. He gets respect in the league, regardless of what is happening on the court. He does still get respected as far as being a threat. And he's a guy who, if you put the ball in his hands at the end of the game, he's a guy that you could trust. And that's where Channing Frye was coming from. The only thing is that all of the things that I just mentioned, I don't think that I don't think it's fair to ask him to do that and to do it effectively. I don't know. I could be wrong. Maybe he's just looking like trash on the Lakers because he has LeBron and AD there and a lot of these other guys and Melo and all that stuff. And maybe he's just not a good fit there. But is he a good fit anywhere? I don't know.
So we're going to add another non-shooter to the starting five alongside Mitchell Robinson. And Julius Randle makes 8 threes one game and then goes 0 for 6 the next game. So he can't be considered a shooter. RJ can't be considered a shooter. The spacing issues alone, but from that is just asking for trouble. And it's going to get us out to poor starts of every game. Westbrook is not going to give you that effort on defense like Emmanuel quickly would give you. It doesn't make any sense to me. And the fact that we're watching him this season play alongside 2 superstar players and he's unable to find a rhythm consistently, even on the games where both superstars players are not playing. It's like he has good games, he has bad games most of the time. And it's like, bro, what would we get out of this player who's clearly on the decline and it's only going to get worse?
If I put my thinking cap on and try to live in the brain of Channing Frye, I can see where he's coming from. I can see a universe where that would work. Is it this universe? Probably not. I think that he feels that Russ's struggles have to do with the other players on the court, with trying to figure out, you've played your whole career with the ball in your hands and everybody else has to wait their turn after me. And now you can't really do that with LeBron. Can't really do that with AD. You put him in a situation like the Knicks where you don't want Julius Randle to have that. You don't want Julius Randle to be LeBron. Now Julius Randle can sit to the side. He can catch. He can shoot. Or he can drive to the basket off of a pass. You want him rolling to the basket. You want him playing more like he did before he came to the Knicks, as opposed to what he's doing for the most part now. The problem is that Russell Westbrook's never won playing his style of basketball. He couldn't do it with KD. They got far, but at his best, he couldn't do it with the guy that you're definitely saying is a top 1 player in the NBA right now. And he hasn't been able to do it. He's played with a lot of superstars in the league. You can't win. He can't win when he's the number 1 option. And if we are trying to get to a point where we're trying to not just make it to the finals, but also win a title, I don't think it makes sense. I don't think it makes sense to make him our number 1 option when he's going to be retired in 2 years, 3 years, probably. Whenever his contract up, he's going to probably get another short-term contract, cheap contract or whatever. He may stick around, but he's not the guy that you want to build around. And that is a move where you're building around an older player just because he used to be able to do number 1 option things. And maybe he still can. But that's not sound team management to me. Because I can see that just as easily as I can envision a universe where that could work. I can envision in this universe, it's definitely not going to work. So, don't do that. We can talk about the Randall of it all and the RJ Barrett of it all, and we will talk about both of them. But yeah, I see where Channing Frye is coming from. I think it's an interesting proposition. It's not one that I think that the Knicks should pursue, though.
The only thing that screams to me when I hear something like this is when you think of NBA players and the life that they have a bias towards NBA players that they've seen be super successful at a level that many other NBA players have not gotten to. And Russell Westbrook is a player who has gotten to superstar ability. And because of that, a guy like Channing Frye, who played in the NBA for how many years? He played well into his 30s, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, he did.
He's thinking of it from his perspective, oh, that guy's a superstar player. He's way better than I ever was. It's just one bad year. He'll be back on his feet.
Right.
I don't feel that way. If I felt that way, then maybe, yeah. This is Russell Westbrook a few years ago. I would want him on the Knicks. But right now, the way that he's looking and the way that he's playing and the way that his confidence is looking, people attacking him all kind of crazy to the point where it's he's never been this criticized in his career. And for him to go from that in LA to coming to New York where it doesn't get any easier,
I don't think Russ cares about that. I think one thing that Frye did say is true. I think if Russ was to play in New York, he would fit right in. With the lifestyle, where the media could take shots at him all game. He ain't gonna care. He's in the LA right now, matter of fact. That's how it is. I can be upset with some of the things that he says in the interviews and all that stuff and how serious he's taking. But for him, it's just, this is the game of basketball. I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. It's either gonna work or it's not, and it is what it is. I'm here to play basketball. That's it. And if that's up to y'all to whether my being here hinges on us getting to the title, all that stuff is front office, all that stuff. But me, I'm here to do what I'm here to do. And that's how you survive. right? That's how you survive on the Knicks. That's how you survive as a player. You can't care about all that stuff, regardless of whether you should be caring about winning a title, which if he's on the team is like, no, you should be caring about winning a title. The fact that that's his mentality means that he is going to be fine here. He ain't going, he's not going to have the issues that Julius is going to have. He's going to have different issues, but he ain't going to have the issues that Julius is having where I feel like things that are happening off court are affecting him on court.
Would you trade Randle for him?
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't. I think that let me say my initial answer is no, I wouldn't. I need to look at his contract.
I think he got
I need
less
to
years,
do
if I'm not
more
mistaken.
research on how he is in LA. The reason why I'm so hesitant is because he is, like when Derrick Rose came here the first time, a caliber of point guard that we haven't had in a long time, even now on the decline.
He's on a 2-year contract. Next
For
year
how
will be
much?
his last year for $47 million.
So that's an expiring contract for his last season.
Mm-hmm.
I would see what else is out there first.
What if they gave us Westbrook? Let's see. Well, Westbrook's contract is going to make it so that they can't add another player, but
No,
if
it would
they
have to be
do
picks.
add picks,
Which, do they even have picks?
they have 1 first-round pick, and they probably have a slew of seconds, if I'm not mistaken.
See, and that's why it's like my initial answer is no, but it's not a hard no. Like I would need to really delve into, okay, what would it take for me to be like, okay, yes, because I think that you can probably get, a decent package without having to take in a Russell Westbrook. But I think that you can get a number one pick, well, not a number one pick, but a first round pick for Russell Westbrook to take him off your hands, even for one season. Like, all right, we'll if we can get Randle for Westbrook, we'll give you a pick for it. If that's how they feel in LA, that's not a bad deal for an expiring contract, even if it's for $40 million for 1 year, and then, you know what I mean? Then you can figure out the point guard situation after that. Maybe quickly takes another league, but we'll talk about that next. Let's get into the Utah Jazz game.
Let's get into it.
So Knicks started off hanging tough against the Jazz. Fournier, Burks, RJ knocked down a few early shots from downtown. Knicks shooting put them up by 8 early. It was looking like, all right, we playing well against a very good team. But Utah's bench cuts into and regains the lead over the Knicks bench. So these are young guys. The young guys were not bringing the energy that they normally did. Rudy Gobert, who's probably going to end up being the defensive player of the year this season, had our guys afraid to drive into the paint for most of the night, especially one Julius Randle, who appeared to be doing way too much the entire night. Way too much. Couldn't score, decided not to defend, had an overall bad night. Maybe we found out later, maybe it could have been something physical with him, but there was a lot of things where it's like, that's a choice you're making. That's not a physical thing. That's I want to put up this shot, right? Defensively, when you hurting, I'll lay off you defensively, even though you're on the court. So you got to, you're there for two sides, right? But he was putting up shots. You putting up shots, I can't really, even that what you do on defense part is kind of like, nah, take that energy of what you're doing on offense, just put it to defense. You'll help the team. Anyway, let me get off my tangent. Knicks went down by 15 at the end of the third before Emmanuel quickly knocked down a key three-pointer in the last minute. So 15 minus 3, that's 12. Knicks youth start the fourth. Quick, Obi, Deuce, Grimes, Sims. And the fourth quarter starts off with an Obi Toppin 3 to cut it to 9. 12 minus 3 is 9. 6 points right there from the bench. The young guys who admittedly didn't play that well in the first half. RJ and Mitch come in for Deuce and Sims. After potential future Nick, Donovan Mitchell, hopefully, I'm just putting it in the air. Hopefully, future Nick, Donovan Mitchell comes to the Knicks. He knocked down a 3 to bring the lead back to 10 after they scored. RJ banks a 3 to bring it down to 7. Quickly hits a floater and a 3-pointer to cut it to 5 with 7 minutes remaining. Now, in between those two plays, there was substitution. Alec Burks came in for Grimes, right? Quickly got fouled behind the arc, missed 2 out of the 3. That would have cut the lead to 2. But because he only made 1, he cut it to 4, right? This is off the backs of mostly our young guys. Donovan Mitchell abuses Burks, who came in for Grimes, as I said earlier, for a dunk. Quickly comes back, throws a full court pass to Obi Toppin for a slam dunk. While Julius Randle and Evan Fournier are waiting to enter the game. Now this, I've recapped all of the good that happened. Even when Burks came in, it's like, all right, I don't know why Burks is coming in when we're playing so well, but whatever, cool. Julius Randle, I've already admitted, did not play good the entire game. Evan Fournier had a decent game, but the guys we had out there were playing well.
He had
And
a
I was
decent
saying to
offensive game.
And I was saying to myself, hopefully, after that dunk, Tibbs says, nah, go ahead, go back on the bench. They got this. I was tripping. I was bugging. He did not do that. The score at that time was a 93-89. 4-point game. These guys come in. Knicks fail to score as Utah goes on a 15-2 run over the next 4 minutes. The final, Utah 108, Knicks 93. Tibbs makes a huge error in bringing Randle and Fournier in at that point in the game. Even Alec Burks, I feel like, was a problem. Like, leave the guys in there, let them get the lead, let them do what if they can't win, they can't win. Julius Randle had nothing all night. Maybe once it gets out of hand, maybe you throw Evan Fournier once it starts looking like they're starting to build the lead. But there was no point where I felt like the Knicks were not continuing to cut into the Jazz's lead. There was no point where I felt like it was getting out of hand. This is not like the game where Cam Reddish was in the game and he just scored and then he got pulled out. Because at least with that, I understood what happened there. Fournier was having the better game. When Cam was out there, I forget who they were playing against, but they cut the lead. They cut into the lead. The Knicks were up 12. When Cam came out, they were down. They were up 6. This is the Knicks cutting into the other team's lead. I did not get that. I didn't think that was a good idea. He tinkered with the lineup. The Knicks ended up losing by double digits. You can't. No matter what, I understand the process. I understand the thinking. Doesn't make it right. Doesn't make it the best decision. Doesn't make it a good decision. Doesn't make it a smart decision.
Let me just say one thing.
Go ahead.
And this is the point where all the listeners are going to sigh. But I completely understand Tibbs' decision-making in that moment.
Yeah, I do too.
Because if you refer to Julius Randle as your engine in the beginning of the season, your most talented player on the roster, in a game this important to your season, this is the platter that you want to serve your star player. Like, bro, the game is in the most intense stage that it's in the fourth quarter. There's enough time for us to finish this comeback, take the lead. And when he came into the game, it was after Obi missed the 3 is when Tibbs called him to check in with Evan.
Yes.
And then right after that, Obi gets a fast break dunk.
Yep.
Like you said.
Mm-hmm.
But 4 minutes to go in this game, I believe, right?
Yes. Somewhere around there.
Down.
No, 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
5 minutes down 4. And you bring in your most talented player in the game. Normally, when you seen another team do something like that, like if you
It's a
see
smart
LeBron
decision.
come in at 5 minutes with down 4, it's like, oh, the bench did their job. Now all he got to do is just finish the comeback.
Right.
And then Julius Randle comes into the game. He's not even looking at the rim to score when he's in the mid-range, wide open.
Right.
I can't blame Tibbs for that. Tibbs is
Oh.
doing everything he can to bring out the most he can in his best players. If you have a talent that, if you have someone that talented on your roster, you can't just ignore them because they having a bad game.
I will do what I always do. I'll give you both sides. Right? I'll agree with you and disagree with you. And my overall feeling is to disagree with you. But I'll tell you why I agree with you, because I said the same thing. I understand why Tibbs did what he did. Not 9 out of 10 coaches at that point of the game, they want to have their quote unquote best player on the court. The problem for me is that right now, if anybody who's evaluating this team with clear eyes, with clear mind, with sound thinking, the best player in your team is no longer Julius Randle. The best player in your team is RJ Barrett. Everyone who has crapped on Tibbs all year has said he doesn't know how to read the room. Or they might have said he doesn't know how to properly evaluate his own players. I push back against the second one. I agree wholeheartedly with the first one. But this is a game where people making that second argument, they sound right. Because Julius Randle is not LeBron James. Julius Randle is not Kevin Durant. Julius Randle is not a top 15 player in the NBA. He wasn't even a top 15 player in the NBA last season. He came close. He might have been a top 20 player, maybe, last season. But he's not that player this year. He's not even close to the top 20 player this year. And if you look at this objectively, you know that he was not having a good game all night. Only thing bringing him back into this game was going to embarrass him, was going to make him look worse than he did, was going to lose you the game. And he accomplished all three with that decision. Once again, I understand why he made that decision. I do. I get it. He's your best player. He's supposed to be your best player. Excuse me. He's supposed to be your best player. He has been the engine of the offense for a year and a half now.
And we just gave him a contract extension.
Yeah.
4 years, didn't we?
Well, we can't say just. It was at the beginning of the season.
And if we're going to be a playoff team, the first year into that contract is not the time where you want to be benching your most highest paid players.
I get it. And if you make it to the playoffs, you need him to be good. You need him to be able to show up in these moments. I get it. But we learned, however long ago we learned it, Julius is not that guy. And this is probably a situation where you're too close to the situation to kind of analyze it properly. I don't envy Thibodeau for being in the position that he's in. If I was in that situation, maybe I would have done the same thing. I don't think so, but maybe I would have. I can't know. I'm not privy to the things that Tibbs is privy to. But when you're in there, you look at everybody as a team. Everybody has their role. You look at guys with a certain. It makes sense. I get it. The problem is that you're a guy who watches tape. You're a guy who studies. You're a guy who has a reason for everything. It was a bad call. So Julius was god awful all night, as I've said multitude of times. He didn't deserve nor earn the 35 minutes of playing time that he got. 13 points on 6 for 21 shooting. 6 for 21 shooting. 13 points on 21 shots. Just saying. Also had 11 rebounds and 3 assists. RJ started the game looking great, but for some reason, probably because Randle was trying to get his instead of playing through the team, potentially, RJ went from a beautiful 62% shooting to a ghastly 40% shooting by the end of the game. 62% shooting in the first half, 40% shooting to end the game. He didn't not have a good shooting night the second half of this game. RJ had 24 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 4 turnovers. Lastly, Emmanuel Quickly out here playing like he's trying to get Tibbs fired with how good he's playing. He's been our best healthy point guard easily. 16 points with 8 coming in that fourth quarter. Half of his points were scored in that fourth quarter. The 22 minutes he played is inexcusably low. Inexcusably low. He should have played 30 minutes. If anybody should have played 30 plus minutes, Emmanuel Quickly should have played 30 plus minutes. Not
That's
Julius
the one
Randle.
thing I can't defend Tibbs on is like Quickly deserves to be playing more minutes the entire year. He should be a starter by now.
So I'm going to try and do something new. I want to kind of talk more about the post-game stuff. So let's listen to Tom Thibodeau. Hopefully I select the right clip.
Well, that's where you got to make a decision whether you're coming back with your starters or not.
What did you see happen in that second quarter when they
I changed the game. I thought we started the game well, played well in the first quarter, broke the lineup. We sort of lost ground, and they got control of the end of the first quarter, started the second. Then we worked our way back. I thought the bench gave us a good lift in the second half. And then, we had a chance to get it to 2 with about 6 minutes to go with free throws. And then, they made plays down the stretch. We didn't.
How disappointed were you that the last 6 minutes looked like a really bad scene for you guys?
I'm sorry?
How disappointed are you that the last 6 minutes turned out the way it did?
Well, the thing is they're a really good team. So you got to play for 48 minutes. And so we didn't do that. So we fell short. I thought it's one of the few times we've been really rebounding well, and I just felt we didn't rebound the ball well tonight. There was a lot of balls, 50-50 balls that we didn't get to. We knew they were going to shoot a lot of threes, and so covering the elbows is important, and they beat us to those, and so that hurt us. That got them going, and then if you don't rebound, it's going to be hard to win.
Specifically with Quickly, over the 48, you went to Burks there. Why that decision?
Just to get our starters back, and I felt he had gone a pretty good stretch, and then I knew I could bring him back, so he was going to come out for probably a couple minutes, which is what I was thinking there.
Tom, you have an idea of what happened there at the end with Julius?
No, I didn't see it. I haven't looked at the film yet.
How do you assess Julius' night?
What's that?
How do you assess Julius' night tonight?
Yeah, just, like I said, I didn't, I thought we fought, but it felt like we were a step behind most of the night. And, when you have a guy like Mitchell who's going to be, it's going to require a lot from you. You're going to be blitzing, and, Gobert's going to put a lot of pressure on the rim. And then Clarkson as well. Like, Clarkson is a big-time scorer, so you got to defend him into the game. And then when the two of them are on the floor, you got two guys that, you really got to put 2 on to, which is going to spread you out, and that probably hurt us some with the rebounding because you're in rotation. So it requires high energy, and I felt like normally we've been pretty high energy, so we were, as a team, I felt we were behind tonight.
It's a little choppy on my end.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So I'm going to pause it here. So Tibbs, essentially, let's just...
The Knicks Take podcast.
Tibbs essentially said that at 5 minutes is the time that you gotta choose who's gonna come in at that time, whether you bring the starters or whether you leave the guys that's already out there. He made a call, and that's why he did what he did. Also, Emmanuel quickly came out for a couple minutes after in that game, and he was asked about that. He said, "I was just trying to give him a quick breather. I thought, I'll give him 2 minutes, whatever." Didn't sit right with anybody who listened to him say that, because he only played 22 minutes. He should have played the whole fourth. If he starts looking like he's tired, then pull him out. So, anyway, you got anything to
I
say
feel
about
like
what
plus
about
minus
you got?
this game is something that all Knicks fans chose to ignore, because if Julius Randle was a negative 20, is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. But let's continue on.
Well,
The
let me
Knicks ended up going to face off.
hold on,
Sorry,
hold
go
on.
ahead.
You skipping over stuff real quick. I was gonna ask you, is there anything from Tibbs post game that you remember that you wanted to speak on? And if not,
That post game, not that post game in particular. There is a post game that I do want to speak on for sure,
okay. So
but it's not this one's.
well, we didn't. You about to hop right over this whole Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert situation that happened at the end of that game.
I forgot about that. My bad.
Yeah. So to make matters worse, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for Julius Randle to stink up the joint playing against the Utah Jazz. No. At the end of the game, Rudy Gobert, leans up against him. Julius Randle gives him a shove. And Rudy is trying to play peace, whatever. Julius shoves him again. It turns into a whole big thing, right? Starts shoving away and smacking the hands of several New York Knicks assistants after that. And then when he starts headed to the back, Obi tries to dap him up, or tries to, tap him. And yeah, Julius kind of smacks away Obi Toppin's hand on the way out. Let's listen to Julius Randle's version of what happened at the end there. Well, before we do that, you guys, is there anything I forgot? Anything that you noticed in that little exchange?
I felt like that exchange. Yeah, I could be completely wrong. I think that Rudy Gobert was talking crazy, but making it seem like he was like, "Oh, what's wrong? You mad we kicked your ass? Like, come on." And then coddled him on his back, and that's why Julius Randle was pushing him away, because he was mad. But that's the only thing that makes sense to me.
Okay.
To make him react that way when Rudy Gobert appears to be doing nothing else wrong to him, and he pushing him away, and now he pushing Obi away. It's just like, you're doing a lot right now, bro.
Let's see if Julius Randle agrees with your version of what happened here at the end of that game.
I think he's lying.
I really don't know, to be honest with you. I was kind of having a conversation with the official at first, and then when I walked away, they all kind of was grabbing me, I guess. I guess they thought it was some confrontation.
He was grabbing me, I guess.
From the play before, or whatever it was, but it wasn't.
Like, you can tell when someone's not an experienced liar.
Too much, but it's fine. It's not a big deal.
It was too much.
Nah, not at all. Honestly, I was confused, to be honest. Because when I walked away, I was confused, but it's fine.
You definitely looked confused, Julius.
Mm-hmm. Good and terrible.
Yeah, you definitely look confused at the end of all that. What universe is this dude on? Like, what universe is this dude on? Like, you pushed Rudy Gobert.
I can't defend it.
And then you pushed him again. And then you said something to the ref, probably. If I'm watching, because you pushed Rudy Gobert, and you turned around, you said something. Maybe that's when you said something to the ref, but you're not going to acknowledge that you pushed Rudy Gobert twice? I don't care what Rudy Gobert was saying. right? I really don't. Rudy Gobert could have been. At the end of the day, you look like, and French, if that's what happened, what you say happened, how you feel it happened, if that's what happened, he's a sore loser. That's what it is, right? That's what it is. Oh, you mad that we kicked your ass?
Point?
Oh yeah, I'm mad you kicked my. Right? Why are you pushing the dude?
Because it looked like he said to Tibbs when he was walking away. He's like, yeah, they still talking shit. That's what it looked like. I'm not a good lip reader, but it looked like that's what he was saying. So when they kept playing that replay back, I'm like, oh, I could see him throwing a bunch of jabs and making it seem like he's consoling him. But either way, after this game, I was at the point of no return with Julius Randle, which most Knicks fans have been at since probably around Christmas. But there's just too many instances of this after games, him pushing his own teammates away, getting into these big, like, bro, like, you a professional athlete, leave the court, you got your ass kicked, you're not even playing with the intensity that you showing now during the game, but now you want to get all this energy and poke your chest out and be big and tough. Like, relax. The game is where you put all that energy at. Like, at the end of the game, I want to see you tired like you was at the end of that Boston game at the beginning of the season when you couldn't wait to go home and lay down and go to sleep. Like, that's what I want to see at the end of the game. I'm tired of seeing these meltdowns after you not showing any effort for 4 quarters straight. Like, come on. That I'm at the point where I just want to see him gone and see just a quality player in his place. I don't care who it is.
Harrison Barnes?
I don't care how. It doesn't have to be a superstar. I'll take Harrison Barnes. I'll take any quality player who's just going to be solid. That's all I want.
You have officially flipped because I definitely brought Harrison Barnes up and you was like, nah, not Harrison Barnes. I don't want that. Nah, don't do that trade. Now, you'll take him.
I'll take him. I'll take him.
Oh,
Come
man.
to Harrison Barnes. We'll have a number fresh to have the jersey printed. I'll make a custom jersey right now and go to Sacramento and try to recruit Harrison Barnes to get Julius Randle off this team. But that ain't going to happen because they got Sabonis.
After this game, I saw a clip on Twitter where the Knicks, they do their little entrance. They come through out the side into the arena and onto the court. And it looked how you would expect it to look. Everybody coming out, hands out, dapping the fans, blah, blah, blah. And then the last guy who comes out is Julius Randle, and he just runs right into court, doesn't extend his hands, doesn't dap any fans.
The only player that doesn't dap any fans.
The only one. Yeah, you can go, bro. You can go. We're fine. We're good. Thank you for taking the discount that you did. It was the embodiment of the player that you were last season. For you to do that, it's a great gesture. Thankful for it.
Thank you for the one incredible season.
Right. Thank you for leading us to the playoffs. Thank you for all of the hard work and effort. Thank you for always being the guy who plays through whatever, for being healthy, play through soreness, whatever. Thank you for being that guy. But you're doing too much.
Yeah.
Right? Just like you said, it was a little too much right there in that press conference. Yeah, no, bro. You're too much at this point. You're way too much. And maybe you just need to be somewhere. Maybe this was never meant to be. And hey, thank you for your services. Thank you for your time.
Mm-hmm.
Please go.
Yeah. Make sure that you walk fast on the way out the door because that shit closed fast. Don't let it hit you.
All right, let's move on to the Hawks game.
The scenario that we just painted, Randle-less Knicks that we want to see, we got a chance to see that the very next game against Trae Young and the Atlanta Hawks here at home, because Julius Randle was listed as out with a quad injury, soreness, allegedly. we'll just leave that in the air.
Let that breathe.
Hopefully his quad, gets healthy around, June or whatever the time the season is over.
And let me just say, I do think that he has I do think something's wrong with his quad. But is that why he's not playing for real? Go on, French.
I can't wait to hear the trade. But back to the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young has heard boos from the minute the game began to the end. There was no let up at all. Every time he touched the ball, the fans let him hear it, and it didn't slow him down at all. RJ did the best that he could without Julius Randle. He had a great game, 30 points, 13 rebounds. It was a neck and neck game all the way through for the most part, but Trae Young really was like just unstoppable. I think through 3 quarters, he had 35 points, if I'm not mistaken, right? And Alec Burks had himself his best game that he had in months. It seemed like the game plan all night was to just target Trae Young anytime we got the ball on offense. And whoever Trae Young was guarding, they was just going to exploit that matchup. And that ended up with RJ getting 30 points. That resulted in Alec Burks ending the game with 21 points. And like I was saying, it was a pretty much competitive game all the way up until the fourth quarter, until the point where we just couldn't score. And a couple Hawks players, I think Bogdanovich, Hunter, he hit a three. I think it was his 1-3 of the game. Hits the 1-3 of the game late in the clutch, and we could not score. Hawks take this game 117-111. Trae Young came into the Garden, dropped 45 points, 8 assists, and he couldn't just leave it at that. He had to, break Taj down, made him fall to the floor and hit the shot, hit a pose. Like, bro, he just came into the Garden, disrespected us. I did not like that. Bogdanovich came off the bench, dropped 32 points. Emmanuel Quigley was the only player off the bench who was semi with a hot hand. He only finished the game with 17 points, but he did start off 3 for 3 from 3, missed his last 2, and then it was just pretty much quiet after that. Kevin Knox wasn't able to check in for the Hawks, but this was just a disheartening loss. We really wanted to see RJ take this win by himself without Julius Randle, but we couldn't get that at the end. What was your takeaways from this game?
He tried.
He put up the valiant effort.
He put up 30 points, as you said. He didn't shoot great. 9 for 25. 1 for 7 from 3. He probably should have shot less from 3. That probably would have helped. He also missed 6 free throws. That could have helped. We lost by 6. I was really into this game. And just how we slowed it down and couldn't score and didn't do any of the things that we needed to do, the things that were most successful for us. It was just, you don't want to see it. You want to see them play the same way the entire game. There's a lot of people who are insisting that when we slow it down at the end of the game, that's because of Tom Thibodeau. Don't know what they're basing this off of. Don't know. Yeah, I don't know where they get it from. I'm not sure why all of the bad things that happened to the Knicks are attributed to Tom Thibodeau, and all of the good things that happened to the Knicks are attributed to the young guys. I don't get the logic. One thing we can all agree on is that Tom Thibodeau is not an offensive-minded coach. He's a defense-first coach. So I think the Knicks played Tom Thibodeau's game plan for as much as they could. At the end, we didn't have the right lineup of guys. And Taj Gibson got bopped to Bolivian.
Bopped into Bolivian is the word. Like that was crazy. I don't mean to pile on Taj. I like Taj is one of my favorite players, but that was
I love
crazy.
Taj. I hate it had to be him.
That was the worst. That was like Trey knew exactly who to do that to hurt Knicks fans' heart. If he did that to Fournier, he did that to Burks, he did that like, bro, Taj, you gonna do that to Taj? That's crazy. That's crazy. That one rubbed me the wrong. That's all I remember from the game. I ain't gonna lie. Like the final score, no. Seeing him pose with the 2K animation shot after you hit the green, after he done had Taj's body playing look like playing Twister. Like, come on. All right. Let's get off this topic because I'm gonna start getting mad again.
I will say this. Trey plays his villain role to perfection. He is current Nick version of Reggie Miller.
Reggie Miller.
Yes. For sure. I think I think he has a little bit more swag than Reg. I think that if he was no, I could say that for Reg too. If he was on our team, I would love him. But I just think that Reggie Miller had more of an assholishness to his stuff that where Trey is just kind of
Trey
like
got it too.
No, Trey is assholish, but it's just more cool. Like, what's up? I don't really hear you. You booing? Oh. like give it to me, I'm gonna give it back to you. Whereas Reggie Miller, he's like, no, I have no qualms about stomping on your neck while you're on the ground. Like, no qualms about it at all. And that's the thing. I respect Trey. But it's still fuck Trey. So yeah, I did you see the post game with Obi and RJ? We're gonna try and show that. I'm gonna try to insert it here during this part during
like infuse that energy into that first unit.
Yeah, for sure. Like I know what I have to do when I'm on the court. Run the floor, catch lobs. If RJ throws it to me,
I threw you one.
No, I'm just kidding. You did. but I know what I gotta do when I'm out there. Bring a lot of energy, run the floor, and just have fun when I'm out there. So.
Capella got the block on you. It looked like he fouled you.
That was a foul. No, I'm just kidding. That was a good block. He timed it perfectly, but I'm gonna catch him one day, maybe.
What do you think of this NBA in general and the New York Knicks organization?
Just answer two, bro. Just answer two.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, bro. All right. I think it was great. I think it's an honor. Just to have a night like tonight. It definitely made me feel good. I'm sure it made a lot of people feel good. It made you feel good, right?
Yeah, it made me feel good.
Yeah, no, that was a great night. I'm happy that was celebrated, and hope that the league looks to do more with that.
After halftime, you guys came back and got the lead. What did you think was missing from that one versus fourth quarter?
Oh, you want me to answer that one?
Go ahead, bro.
I just feel like the energy wasn't there. I just feel like we kind of broke down defensively, and they executed their offense, and they played really good defense too. So I feel like they knew what they was doing going into the fourth, and we kind of slowed down. But we gotta learn from it and get better for the next game.
All right, thanks, guys.
That's a great answer.
It's on YouTube. Knicks Take videos. You know where to find us at. Just look up,
and you'll be able to hear it.
It's part of the podcast.
You'll be able to hear it at this part too. But I love the interaction. I love the interaction between RJ Barrett and Obi Toppin. It seemed like after that game, after the Jazz game, and starting with this Hawks game, the organization seems to be pushing for RJ and Obi to be the future. And it was very interesting to see that they had those two guys answer the pressers together at this point. French, I know you didn't get a chance to watch it, but they took turns answering questions. They were playing off of each other. Obi was like, "Yo, you take this one." RJ's like, "I just answered the last two," and just the kind of interaction and brotherly kind of action is it shows the camaraderie that's there, the joking, the back and forth, and you can still see RJ was pissed off about the loss. Like he was pissed off, way more than Obi was, but he was pissed off, but still able to be like, whatever. That's my brother, whatever. And we're gonna come back and we're gonna win the next game. I'm just gonna move on since you cannot really respond to it. I'm gonna move right on to the Charlotte Hornets game. So, baby Nick, shoot the gym up. Here's the Charlotte Hornets. Most fun win of the season if you have not seen it. If you have not seen it, I would advise you to go and watch it. With all the young legs out there, no Randle again, no Mitch this time, sore back. Very fast-paced game. Sims dominated inside early with some dunks. RJ was running the team as the de facto leader. Obi was doing all of the little things that differentiate him from Julius, running up and down the court, making those quick passes, not holding on to the ball, shooting when he needs to shoot, passing when he needs to pass. Just overall, I loved all of the minutes from everybody.
Best game of his career.
Yeah. LaMelo, too good, right? Even though the Knicks went off to a 20-point lead with the bench unit when the bench unit came in quickly. Deuce, Grimes, Taj blew it up to 20 points. LaMelo, too good. Too good. I wish we could have got him. And I'm going to talk about how the Charlotte Hornets got him after this, but I wish we could have got him. He was able to get the Hornets to make a run, cut the lead to single digits in the third quarter. But the Knicks were able to hold it down in the fourth with a combined effort from everybody. The Knicks put the Hornets away down the stretch. Final 121-106. In this game, Evan Fournier, who's been knocking on the door of John Stark's 23-year-old record for 23 for the three-pointer, three-pointers made in the season, he broke it in the third quarter. And those two shots that he took, the one to tie the record and the one to break the record, beautiful. That shot to tie it, especially apt. Falling, he was in the corner, falling out of bounds, over an outstretched arm, fell on the ground. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful shot. I if there's any shot to tie John Stark's record, it was that one. And then he made another one that just evokes his season, just how pure the shot was to break it. Another thing I want to say, that Hornets defense, not good. Not good at all. And Knicks shot 45 threes and had 30 assists as a team. Knicks are undefeated when they have more than 29 assists in a game. They beat Charlotte, they beat Portland, and they beat Orlando, all blowouts. So maybe not holding on to the ball and passing is the Knicks' key to success. I don't know why we haven't figured that out before. Maybe it's because of who our engine was, but that's on me. I mean, that's I don't know. I don't know. That's just me, man. That's a guesstimation. Anything I'm forgetting from this game, French, that you want to talk about?
This, the only thing that I dwell on when I was watching this game was just Obi's dominance. I felt like he was dominating this game all around, even though he wasn't the most dynamic scorer. He was getting his points rather easily. It seemed like he was getting dunks, alley-oops. He did a pull-up mid-range jumper. This was by far just his most complete game as an NBA player. He played 40 minutes this game, had 18 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists. I want to see what Obi is 2 years from now, because I'm the irrational Knicks fan that sees games like this and just starts to think about the potential that this player has and what he can become, because to see him do things like that, to be able to just get to the paint and glide with 2 steps and be able to knock down corner threes after only shooting 20-something% and having the confidence from your coach to keep shooting that. Your coach wants you to keep shooting that, even though you're only shooting 20%. Is because he knows that you're a much better shooter than what you've displayed. Grabbing 11 rebounds, he had the most rebounds on the team that game. And the only players that had more assists than him that game was Fournier and Quickly. And Fournier threw a dime pass to Obi in transition late in that fourth quarter to get him a wide open dunk. And that was that made me want to see Evan Fournier back here next year. Because if we could get this level of production for shooting, like, yeah, I was already open to that idea, but now to see Evan Fournier's passing in these last few games, like, I haven't been blind to that. He's been really looking for his teammates a lot more, and they've also been looking to keep Mitch involved and Sims involved a lot more, because a lot of the matchups that we spoke on either last episode or the one before that, where Mitch always has a mismatch down low, where there's a young guy there, or Obi always has a mismatch down low. And now I see them actually throwing that pass to Obi in the center, or whoever's got the mismatch. And it's just, it's a lot more fast paced and fun to watch. And even when Taj Gibson comes in the game, it's like he matches that level of intensity and energy that they do. Even though he can't move at the same speed and pace that they do, he provides that veteran presence while he's out there, while keeping up his energy at his old age, or older age, I should say. So this was definitely a great win. One of the most fun wins of the year. Evan Fournier did, like you said, broke the record, and it was a nice step back 3 on Plumlee to get the record. It was just crazy. That was a good win. Was there anything else you want to speak on it before I go to the next game? Because that next game is where that's where the shit got. That's where it happened at. That's where it happened at. That's where the episode highlight is going to be at. This next episode, this next game right here. Woo! Let's finish up Charlotte though. Go ahead.
You already got them all hyped up. You might as well keep it going.
Yo, we didn't have Julius Randle again. Misses his second straight game, but Mitch is coming back off the bench. And I honestly, I keep saying this game, but it really was just the fourth quarter, because the first 3 quarters we played kind of inconsistent. Miami built a huge lead late. In the fourth quarter, and we just came out with the lineup of Deuce McBride, Quickly, Grimes. Was it Sims, if I'm not mistaken? You remember the lineup. You got to. Sims and Taj. So, yeah, Miami had the 17-point lead in the fourth quarter, right? This is the lineup that we have. And remember last episode, I'm talking about Deuce McBride. He got to become more confident in the NBA games like how he is in the G League games. He has to be able to score, show his repertoire, and be able to help the team in that way alongside with the clutch defense. We saw that. We saw that this game. We saw Emmanuel Quickly have his best game in his career, or best quarter in his career, I should say, because going into the fourth quarter, Emmanuel Quickly only had 3 points, and we down 17. Jimmy Butler comes into the game. I'm waiting for him to erupt and stop the Knicks from going on this run. Quentin Grimes had Jimmy Butler in check. I don't want to say he had him in smash. He had him in check in that fourth quarter, because the Miami Heat, they could not score for a large majority of this fourth quarter. The Knicks outscored Miami 38-15. Led by IQ McBride. You hear me? McBride, Deuce McBride, Jericho Sims, and Grimes.
Yep.
And Taj had a huge defensive presence in this fourth quarter.
Yep.
We had very little Burks in this game. No Fournier to end this game. RJ and Obi were subbed in a very pivotal point in the stretch of this game in the fourth quarter when we were down 4 points, I believe. And it was the exact lineup change that we needed in that moment because Deuce looked like he was starting to get gas. His shot wasn't falling. Well, his shot was falling. He was 3 for 4 from the field, but I think he missed a shot, and then we went a few possessions where we couldn't score. RJ and Obi come into the game, and they provided exactly what we needed down the stretch. Deuce blocked Jimmy Butler, went coast to coast, and finished a highly contested layup before sitting down. Then IQ gets a clutch steal at the end of the game, hits a reverse layup. Knicks win this game 111-103. IQ is just has me in an irrational state of mind right now where I understand where I am probably being very inconsistent when it comes to IQ, because talking about he should have been coming off the bench, and it's probably too much for him to be a starter. But Miami, the way I'm saying that game was no chance we winning. I seen we didn't have Randle. I'm thinking it's going to be like, all right, we're going to see some good minutes from the young guys. They're going to have a good quarter or two. But Miami's going to win this game. I'm ready. I wasn't excited to watch this game at all. And then when I saw Mitch wasn't playing, I'm like, Mitch was going to be playing. I'm like, maybe we do have a chance. But I was not expecting what we saw. RJ finished the game. He was struggling because Miami was treating him like Jordan in the 80s. They had the RJ rules, triple team him every time he went down in the paint. He only finished the game with 18 points, went 2 for 10 from 3. Obi finished the game with 15 points. Manuel quickly finished the game with 23. Mitch had 11 and 7 off the bench. But these young guys, they provide so much energy and a spark plug that is just it's so fun to watch. And I don't want to get irrational over this win because I do know Miami is like it appears that they're just losing games to avoid Brooklyn in the 8th seed because they lost to Philly without Embiid or Harden. They lost another game, then they just lost again against Brooklyn last night. So yeah, I see a lot of Knicks fans on Twitter talking about Tibbs and how the kid should have been playing all year. This win just verifies it. I don't want to jump too far off the ledge and make it seem like, oh, this team could compete with any team in the NBA now based off this win. There were factors. I knew the Miami Heat team was definitely capable to perform a lot better than they did in that fourth quarter, and we got the win as a result of it. But it was just a really encouraging sign to see our young guys play like that and play that well with that chemistry together, because the chemistry looks like it's forming nicely. I'm really, really excited to see what this team looks like next year. I keep saying that every episode, but I just can't wait to see it. What was your thoughts about this game?
I want to, before I talk about my thoughts, I just want to push back on something that you've said and I keep hearing everybody say. I don't think Miami is losing games on purpose. I don't think they lost this game on purpose, for sure. I think they wanted to win this game.
I don't think so either.
And which game was it?
But you don't feel like they're playing at the best of their ability right now.
I think that there's something wrong, yeah. But I think that they're trying to. Which game was it? What? Actually, I was just looking. It might have been the Golden State game when Jimmy Butler and Bam and Spo were all arguing.
Yeah, they lost to Golden State without Curry,
right,
or Clay.
Yeah, right now they're on a losing streak, right? They lost to Philly, they lost to Golden State, they lost to us, and they just lost to Brooklyn.
Badly.
The Brooklyn part, I'm not surprised by. Brooklyn with KD and Kyrie playing, dangerous team.
Mm.
With just one of them, not so dangerous. we could have beat that Brooklyn team. We almost beat that Brooklyn team with just KD. But the thought that you want to not be the number 1 seed because you might face off against Brooklyn in the 8. If you're the number 1 or the number 2 seed, you don't have any control over your own destiny against who you play in the first round. Like, people need to understand how these play-in rules work. Wherever you're seated at, if you're number 1 or you're number 2, you have no control because you have to wait for the play-ins to play out to know who you're going to face. The 7-8 seed play for who's going to be the 7th seed. So even if Brooklyn finishes off at the 8th seed, let me look at the standings right now. If they face Cleveland for a play-in spot, do you think Cleveland is still going to be the 7th seed? Not the way that Cleveland's playing right now. And there's no guarantee that that's even going to be a thing. Brooklyn could play their way into the 6th spot.
Imagine Atlanta beat Brooklyn for the 8th spot. That'd be funny.
As much, I would love for Brooklyn to not make the 8th seed. But
that'd be funny.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. The only way that might potentially happen is if they have to face Toronto. Yeah, I can't even think about it. They would have to lose twice, or they'd have to fall to the 9 seed, which is not going to happen. They'd have to fall to the 9 seed and then play Toronto. That's the only way they don't make it. There's no rhyme or reason to try to figure out where Brooklyn's going to be, because all of these teams, Toronto, Chicago, Cleveland, Brooklyn, Charlotte, Atlanta, they're all in the mix for all of those spots from 6 to 7, from 5 to 8, 5 to 9. If you're losing games right now, yeah. I'll list off the records. Chicago, 43-31. Toronto, 42-32. Cleveland, 41-33. Brooklyn, 39-35. Charlotte, 38-36. Atlanta, 37-37. These teams are not that far off from each other. They're not.
It's crazy how in the Eastern Conference, the 10th seed is 500.
Right.
The 10th seed is 500. The 9th seed is 38-36. That's insane.
Chicago ain't gonna fall
to the West Coast.
Chicago ain't gonna fall to 10, but Chicago could fall into the play-in, and Atlanta ain't gonna finish at 6, but they could finish at 7 at this point. Like, you can't play the way that these play-ins work. You can't try to, unless you're like steadily in the 3, 4, 5, 6 area. Okay, maybe matchups matter there, but if you have the chance to be the 1 seed or the 2 seed, you don't have you have no control over that. I'm going for the 1 seed because if Brooklyn's in the play-ins, I'm pretty sure they're going to be the 7th seed. I'm not thinking that they're going to lose the first play-in game. Sorry, go ahead. I talked over you for about 5 minutes.
No, I'm just looking at the standings. Like, if the Knicks were in the West, we'd be the 9th seed right now.
Right.
That's tough.
The East is good this year. And the Knicks would have to, at this point, win the rest of the games, I believe. Do they have enough games to get to 500?
We're 10 games under 500, and we only have, 8 games left?
Oh, so yeah.
So if Atlanta loses,
it doesn't mean it's over.
games.
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta would have to lose more than they'd win, and we'd have to win out at this point.
No, even if we win out, even if they lose half the games they play, they'd still be at. We would.
No, that's what I said.
Yeah,
they'd have to
be at
lose.
500.
They'd have to lose more than they win in order for us to even have a chance. which I don't see happening.
Yeah, they play
Charlotte
Pacers,
is over.
OKC.
Charlotte is over 500. Charlotte does have a chance to lose more games than they could win, but even still, that is a very tough ask. But I like the fact that this team is still kind of like, you're in it until you're not.
Yeah.
So, whatever. So, the other thing that I wanted to kind of say, I wanted to kind of clean up the whole substitution pattern. The Knicks were up by the time RJ and Obi came in. They were up by 3. There was a little bit of a dead spot after Grimes hit his 3. Both teams turned over the ball, missed shots, blah, blah, blah. And with 3 minutes left in the game, Barrett came in for Grimes and Obi came in for Taj. And I'm during that stretch, I was kind of like, please, Tibbs, please don't bring Evan Fournier and Alec Burks. Like, please, please don't Tibbs it up. And he called those 2 up, and I was like, okay. Wait,
Evolution.
Who's Obi coming in for? Taj? And yeah.
Evolution.
We finished it off. We finished the game up.
Can we just see Tibbs's faults now and just let him evolve into being a better coach?
He's not
Is that not a possibility?
He's not going to evolve into being he's always going to be who he is. But he is going to,
I don't think so.
By the end of the season, he's going to do what he needs to do. It's just the problem is that we don't have the patience for a coach who is going to lose games doing it his way, as opposed to changing on the spot, right? And I'm trying to write something like I want to start a blog about the Knicks, and I'm going to talk about that kind of in depth as far as, yeah, he's not a perfect coach, but we have to have patience, right? He is a much worse he's a much worse coach than he could be. He could be a much better coach if he just does certain things just a little bit better. But
I feel like he's still an elite coach. He's just not perfect.
He's one of the best defensive coaches in the league, if not the best defensive coach in the league. So
he's just not perfect.
You know what you're getting with him. Don't mess it up by thinking you're going to get something better. You better know that you're getting something better. You better know that you're getting a better coach if you're going to fire that man. Because otherwise, we could have another 5-year stretch where we're just cycling out guys that are not good because we think they're better. So, shout outs to Mike Woodson. Anyway, favorite win of the season. You agree?
No, this is by far my favorite win of the season.
All right.
And it's just the fact that we got the win off the backbone of the kids.
Yep.
No Randle. Everything down the stretch of this game just went so perfectly.
Well,
and Quickly's intensity, yelling into the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I love to see that. In Miami, I love to see that.
In Miami is the thing that I is the most exciting part about this game. I was a little jealous because you got the best game out of the 4 to talk about. But there's still a lot surrounding this game that I could kind of get into. After the game, Tom Thibodeau had some words.
It was an interesting game. I thought our starters played really well in the first half, and in the bench didn't play as well as we would have liked. And then the second half, it was just the opposite. And the starters were okay. They were actually decent. And then the bench came in, and they were terrific in the second half. So it was good. Like when you're shorthanded like that, you need everyone to play their best, and I thought we did. But these guys have been great. They've been practicing well, and they're playing winning basketball, and we just want to keep getting better. Yeah, well, I think that the thing is as I said, it's a long season. You need everyone. Like we also had, Taj was in there for a good chunk of that as well. But and that's why you have a bench, and that's why you have depth, and depth is critical in today's NBA. Just for a lot of reasons, and So I think the important thing is the team is playing, since the All-Star break, is playing very well. And they've also, they're practicing well. And when you practice well, you normally play well. It's pretty simple. Well, they were the same young legs that we had in the first half.
Right.
So like the thing is like, I mean, you guys are like trying to nitpick this, nitpick that, but you need everyone over the course of the season, right? So, we love our young guys. We see it every day. They're supposed to bring energy, and they did. They were terrific, But you need RJ, you need Julius, you need Mitch, you need everyone, and so you need Evan, you need Alec. It's a team. It's not an individual thing. It's you can't just pick up a box score after and say, like the thing is like. How many people are watching the game after the game is played to really know exactly what happened in the game? So, like, I see a lot of opinions, but I don't see a lot of people doing the work to actually study it.
McBride's defense on Lowry in the fourth quarter, what did you think of it?
And not an easy cover because of his ability to shoot, but also his ability to draw fouls. And so, he came up with big rebound in traffic. Those are winning type plays, and so it's terrific. I thought Quentin gave us really good minutes. He's been shaking the rust off for a while, but I thought second half he got his rhythm going too. And Jericho's he's given us a lot of hustle plays, putting pressure on the rim, and then Taj is sort of jack of all trades, does everything. You can put him on anybody, play the 4, play the 5. He's played the 3 for us. Whatever you ask him to do, he just goes out there, does it, plays for his teammates, helps you execute, knows all the little details of every play, knows the details of every scheme. So it's not just like individual, well, this guy made a great play, but he doesn't fulfill any of his team responsibilities. You got to know what your team responsibilities are. That has to be paramount. And so that's how you win in this league.
When you were talking about the opinions, people want to watch the game, what's the common misconception you're seeing?
No, I'm just saying, like, everyone has all the answers right after a game, and oftentimes they haven't studied. Like, so how do you really know? Like, and I don't want anything to divide our team. I want our team together. That's how you win. You win as a team. You lose as a team, right? So when I see like stuff being written or people talking about this, that, and like oftentimes you hear it all the time, and then when you actually do study it and you watch the game again, and maybe you watch it a third time, you actually know what transpired.
Has that been, just in general, an issue this season with maybe social media, fans choosing one player to talk
Well,
about?
it's where we are in society today. With social media, it's a different animal, and like, look, hey, it's part of the game. We love it. It drives the game. It's as popular as it's ever been. But like, to me, I don't like anything that eats away at the fabric of the team. And so, people want to take one game, whether it's a win or a loss, and they want, well, this, and this. No, it's, oftentimes the things that they're saying, a guy might make one good play in the game and has 9 bad plays. Or conversely, he makes 9 good plays and he has 1 bad play.
Have you talked to the team about trying to stay off the social media this season?
No, I just talked to him about staying away from you. I say that's a joke. So. No, like, at the beginning of the year, we bring in, because it's a big part of the league, and you just got to be careful with it. And it's different, but that's, we're all the same. You have information constantly coming at you, and even if you stay off it, there's going to be people telling you what they're saying. So you're going to hear it, right? So just block it out. Don't get distracted. Come in every day knowing that, hey, some days you may not play great, but you can still help the team win. And I just want the team to keep growing, just keep improving, keep learning. We got young guys. They're going to learn. Trial and error is a big part of learning. bring energy to the group. Vets help the young guys grow, and then I want them to grow as well. That's what I love about Taj. Taj is, I don't know how many years in the league now, but a lot. And he keeps adding to his game, and he loves every aspect of being on a team. He loves the meetings, he loves the weight room, he loves the travel, he loves every aspect of being on a team. And when you have guys like that put the team first, good things will happen. So that's what we're trying to do.
Why'd you start Jericho?
Because I could. No, it's a good question. It's just, we really didn't know where Mitch was, so, and really, like the fact that he tried to go to help the team says a lot, so that was a real positive. And, he got loose and he felt good, so he played more and he played well, so I think that's the key for us. And so to me, it's like whatever you can give us, whatever you can give the team to help us win, we're all for it. Sacrifice for the team, put the team first, and I think he did that.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Yep.
But Tibbs, a lot of people had a lot to say about it. So I heard about his post-game conference before I listened to it. And I will say that Tibbs definitely showed how he really felt about social media. Definitely had a lot to say about.
I feel like he got everything off his chest. Social media,
Yeah.
the media, fans telling him what to do, fans talking to players any kind of way on social media.
Right. I didn't like his response. He was like, I don't like anything that interrupts with the fabric of the team or something to that effect. I would have rathered that he said what Emmanuel Quickly said. Emmanuel Quickly was like, and let me just point out, Emmanuel Quickly, after the amazing game he had, came out with his deal with it shades. The deal with it shades that you see in all from all the memes. Definitely came out and was like, yeah, social media is something that we can't control. We can only control what we can control. Go out there, do what you got to do. That was the answer right there.
But Tibbs says that every post game.
Yeah, but
that's where he quickly probably got it from. Tibbs.
But that's not what he said in this game, right? And if that's what you're saying, you got to keep to it. Social media. He let these reporters bait him into his answers, and his answers weren't crazy. Like he admitted social media is important for the evolution of the game in terms of the popularity and all that stuff. He gave social media its props, and then he went on to be like, y'all motherfuckers don't know what y'all talking about.
But as a coach, for him to say that after all this time in this season, he's been hearing it all probably.
Yeah,
and
100%.
He's probably just fed up. Like, bro, y'all do not know what y'all talking about. Tibbs is a coach of the year, a multiple time coach of the year. And we trying to tell him what to do. And he's trying to tell us, shut the hell up, sit in the stands and cheer. That's what y'all supposed to do. I know what I'm doing. But the reason why it's going to rub fans the wrong way is because he's not a perfect coach. And to have that approach to everyone is kind of counterproductive, because it's like people are seeing things that you're obviously not seeing, or else there would be results on a court. But at the same time, there's things that Tibbs is seeing that nobody else is seeing, because he's just so far ingratiated into the NBA. Like, he knows what to look for. He knows why certain things wouldn't work that we don't know. So It's a lose-lose. All you got to see out of this post game was Tibbs' true emotions unfold.
The issue with Tibbs is that for him, there's a tried and true method as to how things work in the NBA. And he's not going to go away from it without reason. And it needs to be a strong reason. Even if his tried and true method ain't working, he's going to stick with it. He's going to keep going. So, I mean, I get it. I get where he's coming from, but I think that if he is able to realize that sometimes that approach is not beneficial to winning, if he was more able to ingratiate that into his mindset, that would help him more than anything else, and everybody would be fine with him. But he's a person like everyone else. So as a result of the win, as much as the result of what he said about social media and about just how we don't know what we're talking about in the in the social media, on Twitter, in regards to what we see on the court, if we're reacting immediately to the game and not watching tape and all that stuff, we don't know what we're talking about. Knicks Twitter imploded. Like, I have never seen a game that everybody was unanimously happy with and immediately went to Twitter to snipe
Everyone was
shots
still angry
at Tibbs, at each other. I was like, what is happening right now? Like,
the Knicks civil war continues. Knicks fans have been wilding all year, bro. Like, it's so many different perspectives in the Knicks community that nobody can just have a conversation anymore, and it's just so them Knicks to the Twitter streets at night is just not safe. You got to just go home, lock your doors. It's not safe. You liable to get the treatment if you say anything that Knicks Twitter does not agree with.
Right.
And that was just another example of that.
I was like, yo, I knew it was gonna happen, but it was just like, dudes was going for the jugular after this game. Imagine he was doing this all season. And let me just say this. Tibbs couldn't do this all season. If he did this all season, we wouldn't have the game that we just had. I want people
have the record either.
I wouldn't. I want people to realize that some games our youth would have lost us. Which, okay, you could be happy about that or whatever. Like, this is a much more nuanced conversation than if he had done this the whole time, we would be a better team. It just is. Yes, he's made mistakes. Yes, he's done things wrong as a coach. Yes, he could have handled this a hell of a lot better than he has. Yes, maybe some of the kids could have played a lot earlier. Yes, Alec Burks probably should not still be starting at point guard. With all that said, without Tibbs doing and operating the way that he's operated this entire season, we don't have this game. I will say that very confidently. Emmanuel quickly started off the season amazingly without shooting well, and then eventually he stopped playing well on top of not shooting well. He was not able to do that. He was not able to do what he did in Miami back then when he was in that. He wasn't playmaking this well. He wasn't shooting this well. He was defending this well at first, and then even that kind of fell off. Right? Giving him more minutes at that point in time against some of the teams that y'all wanted him to play more minutes against could have done more to hurt him than help him. I think that Tibbs has taken the appropriate response in regards to Emmanuel quickly. Obi Toppin
slow stepped him into the NBA.
Yeah, 100%. Obi Toppin, maybe he handled Obi wrong. But I can't say that he handled Deuce wrong. I can't say that he handled Quentin Grimes wrong. I can't say that he handled Jericho Sims wrong. I can't say that he's handled RJ wrong. I can't say that he's handled Mitch wrong.
Like, that's the part that pisses me off. young players only apply to the young players that are not playing. RJ Barrett is the youngest player on the team. How does Tibbs not trust young players if RJ is the starter and plays the most minutes out of everybody? How he doesn't trust young players if Emmanuel Quickly has never seen a DMP under Tibbs, if I'm not mistaken? How does he not trust young players?
Not a DNP CD. DNP coach did not play coach's decision.
Like,
Never.
bro, we saw when Grimes got into the rotation and was playing so well, he stuck with Grimes throughout the whole season. What young players doesn't he trust? He just doesn't trust inconsistent plays from young players as much as he sticks with inconsistent plays from vet players because he knows what to expect from them. I understand the thinking, but that doesn't mean I completely agree with it. But you cannot say if the kids was playing all year, this is the result that would have happened because they're much more mature now than they were at the beginning of the year. They have much more of an understanding of what to do on the basketball court when you're playing against an NBA team than compared to what you would have done at the beginning of the season. So I'm with you on all your points. Emmanuel Quickly was the main reason we won against Miami, and that's what people's takeaway is at the end of this game. We won because Deuce McBride and Grimes had a great fourth quarter too. Like, bro, seriously? They got into that point under the development of Thibodeau. Right? He gets the credit for a win like this just as much as the players do. Because these players have a chemistry and they've gotten the defense to a point where that's where Tibbs wants it to be at, and that's why they're playing as much as they have. Because he could have gone with Fournier and Burks in the fourth quarter again if he was the type of coach that everyone wants to make him seem to be like. If he didn't trust young players at all, why didn't he go with Burks in the end of the game and Fournier and Taj at the end of the game?
He could have. When he brought RJ and Obi in, he could have did the expected thing, and he didn't. And
RJ has never come off the bench.
He deserves that. He deserves that those kudos for doing that. I was trying to see if RJ really was the youngest player on the team, but I can't find the birthdays. So
he is.
He's him, Deuce.
Who do you think is younger?
Deuce, and Quentin Grimes are all 21. So
yep.
I don't know when their birthdays are. I'm pretty sure RJ's birthday is coming up. So I don't know if he is, but he's at least the second youngest.
Passed already.
Who, RJ's? So RJ's 22?
Oh, it is coming. No. It is coming up. It's coming up in June. Sorry.
So I was trying to look that up real quick, but let's move on to the next topic, which was going to be, well, actually, I've kind of done it throughout this entire episode. My complaints for Thibodeau, right? I've given him his roses and I've made my complaints. He didn't lose us the game against the Utah Jazz, but he certainly did nothing to help us win that game by doing what he did.
Wait, one quick thing.
Yeah.
One quick thing.
Go ahead.
Deuce is the youngest player. His birthday's in September. RJ's birthday's in June. Continue.
So I have a problem with that. Ooh. I have a problem with how slow he is to respond to things. I have a problem with some of his rotation decisions. The rotation decision that he made with the Atlanta Hawks with keeping Taj Gibson out there that entire fourth quarter, I didn't like that. I think he needed to trust his young guys a little bit more in that game as well. I understand why he did what he did, but at a certain point, you got to see what's not working. And we got taken advantage of by the Hawks in that game. So coaching decisions against the Jazz, coaching decisions against the Atlanta Hawks. Same problems that we've had all season. I don't have too much more to complain about. Like you got to be better at these in-game decisions. Got to. You have to. It's when it comes to playoff time. We saw how you got exposed against the Hawks last year, which we were going to lose that series anyway, maybe, right? I maintain that if we had Mitch, which I don't remember if you talked about it, that Mitch interception of the pass to Clint Capella from the Hawks game.
Mm-hmm.
If we had Mitch, that happens.
I didn't talk about it.
That happens in the series. Mitch is the best option against that duo. Are they going to still do it? Yes. They've done that lob to Capella with Mitch on the court before. But only Mitch is able to intercept, is able to show out against Trey and intercept that pass because he's so long and he can jump. So we were going to lose that series, but I can complain about the things that he did and didn't do as a coach for that series as well. There's a lot of things with Tibbs where you leave a lot on the table, which is why I said last week that I don't think that he's going to be the coach that takes us to the finals. He leaves too much on the table that he should see and be like, that's easy offense. That's easy defense. That's easy. This is an easy advantage that we can take. I should do this. I should play this guy. I know I don't usually play this guy. Like, these are the things that he doesn't do because he sticks to one plan. And if that plan doesn't work, the entire game, week, season is shot. So I've said mostly what I had to say throughout the episode. You have any complaints about Tibbs you want to get off before I move on?
Tibbs is my favorite Knicks coach of all time since I've been a Knicks fan. I do have complaints, but it's like, I'm happy with him being the coach still. I want to see him here next year. So I'm not going to use any time to pile on Tibbs when that seems to be the sentiment of most Knicks fans.
Knicks fans have never seen Knicks fans haven't seen a coach that they loved since Jeff Van Gundy was coach.
And I'm pretty sure when Jeff Van Gundy was coach, they was probably criticizing him too.
Yeah.
Heavily.
If we're gonna keep it a buck, there's no such thing as, if you're a coach on the Knicks, unless you win the championship, you're not a good head coach.
Until you're gonna
keep it a buck. All these guys that are out here having these conversations about why we should move on from Tibbs, whatever. I just wish one of them would keep it 100 and admit that, honestly, there's no such thing as a good head coach until we win. Because let's think back to let's think back to every head coach we've had since Jeff Van Gundy. And if they weren't fired because they were just an interim head coach, they've at least one time heard a chant in the Garden saying to fire them.
Mm-hmm.
Mike D'Antoni, Mike Woodson.
Mm-hmm. Mike Woodson is the one that everyone loves now. Oh, why did we let Woodson go?
They were fire Woodson
here. Oh man,
they were fire Woodson chants in the Garden. It's documented.
Phil Jackson was the savior. Let's not forget. Like, we couldn't wait to get rid of Mike Woodson and bring in somebody to run the triangle. Let's not forget.
Pump your brakes, y'all. Right? Pump your brakes. I understand. I'm not saying there's no reason to fire him. I'm not saying that. I have my complaints. He's not had a good season. He has done things that are very bad to do as a coach. He's cost us games. He's not adjusted correctly. Cool. He's not Fizdale. He's not Derek Fisher. Right. He's not Kurt Rambis. Right? Let's not do
Remember
this.
Kurt Rambis? That's nasty.
So I wanted to finish off last topic of the week. I wanted to give RJ Barrett his roses. Since December 31st, RJ Barrett, 24 points per game, 6 rebounds a game, 3.5 assists per game as of a couple of days ago. I'm not sure if those numbers are still 100% accurate, but they're close. RJ Barrett has displayed and shown leadership qualities. He's been the only grown-up in the room, the second youngest player in the room, and his playmaking is taking has just skyrocketed, really. Not worried about his efficiency because he'll figure that out. I love seeing him score 20 points a game, 30 points. Well, we didn't even talk about that either. Shame on us. The back-to-back 30-point games.
We're so used to it now.
We're not
used to the back-to-back 30s, but we so used to seeing him drop 30 that it's just
most 30-point games by a player under 22 this season. Dropped 30 against Atlanta, dropped 30 against the Hornets. Like, not worried about the efficiency. At this point, RJ, let's trade Julius. That's how I feel. It's bad. You know why it's bad for me to even like, not only have you turned on Julius, Ashley Nicole Moss, Ash, who you might have seen her on some podcasts. She's a contributor to Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, I like that.
SINY. Defended Randle. She's the Randle defender to a lot of us. Even she. I don't know if you've seen that clip, French. Even she's kind of like, yeah, I don't know what's going on with Julius. When even Ash is not on your side, bro, you messed up.
Yeah, it's over. It's over. It's over. So, I just want to see what happens this offseason, man. I just want to see what trades are out there. I want to see what we do with the draft. I want to see what we do with these extra veteran contracts on this roster, what we do with Kemba Walker. Because RJ needs stability around him and a group to grow with. And we don't have to be worrying about the best player sucking the life out of the organization. Like, we need some stability. We need some type of consistency so that RJ can have some, like, just be stable here in New York. Right. Not always wondering what is the grass green on the other side.
Right.
What's it like to be on a winning organization? Like, we got to take it one step at a time, and we have all the leverage. I feel like we have a player with the talent to warrant bringing back some assets. So it's the front office job this summer to bring something back for us, because we have assets. We have draft picks. We have everything we need.
Right.
It's just a matter of getting it done now.
So now that we've
young players,
now that we've given him his roses, we've said that Julius Randle is expendable. We've said that we need to build a team around RJ Barrett. The fact that we do all that, does that mean that we're in agreement that we should give him the max?
RJ?
Yeah. He's max eligible this offseason.
I agree that we need to pay him. If he's willing to take less than the max, I'd really enjoy that. If he
do you want to hear the numbers?
Max, he deserves that.
Do you want to hear the numbers for his max contract situation? Or do you know what it is? Barrett, according to the New York Post, Mark Berman, good old Mark, Barrett has earned a maximum rookie contract extension worth up to $181 million over 5 years. Now, hey Google, what's 181 million divided by 5? $36,200,000. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
It's not going to be too much, though. I feel like when you think about RJ 5 years from now, yeah.
That's just the average.
5 years from now.
5 years. That means his third year he'll be making the 36 mil. Which means he'll probably do like 32, 34, 36, 38, 40. Or somewhere, maybe they'll make it a little bit closer. Maybe it'll be, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. How do you feel about that? Would you do it?
Yeah, like Like, yeah, I'm doing that. RJ 4 years from
Or-
now is gonna be a star. Pay
Or
him
are
now,
you
so we don't
waiting?
got to pay him later.
I mean, you pay him later, it's going to be probably the same thing, and you probably save a little bit of money. But
Nope. Supermax.
that's also a possibility.
Supermax. Exactly my point.
It's also a possibility. Like I agree with you. Just pay him now. Just pay him now. He is inefficient now. I have no concern about him fixing that part of his game with the efficiency. He's brought up his 3-point shooting. He's gotten to the line a lot more. He seems to be a natural in the role of being that number one guy. And he's showing it against the teams that aren't good. And he's not playing awful against the really good teams. Like, he played against the Miami Heat. It was a bad shooting game for him, for sure. And he turned over the ball a bunch and all that stuff, but he still did some good things on the court.
And the last time he played Miami, remember how much he dropped? 46.
Exactly. So, yeah, I think I'm right there with you. The only problem I have is how difficult that makes it to build a team around him in the future, which is why you have to trade Randle, which is why you have to trade Noel, which is why you have to trade Burks, which is why you might have to trade Derrick
But I
Rose.
just feel like the front office, the one thing that we cannot say they have done wrong or have done poorly so far since they've been here is draft poorly.
Right.
And even if you pay RJ a huge amount of your cap space, our young guys are going to need to get paid too, and they're going to develop and provide things that we don't even see right now in the future. And we have to take that into account. They also got to get paid too. We can't just keep giving money to free agents and paying guys from other teams who got to come here and learn the system, get incorporated, learn how guys' rhythm. Like, the guys who are already here, the guys who we drafted, and the guys who we're going to continue to draft, that's what I think I'm going to be paying more attention to, because we have our own nice, solid, young core roster already set.
Right.
We have guys who are going to be here for years down the line, I believe.
Hopefully.
When's the last time we've been able to say that? When's the last time we've even had that thought cross our mind that we have at least 5 players who are going to be here long term?
I have 2 quick side notes because we're coming up on 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
2 quick side notes. Questions, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Would you sacrifice wins next season to get rid of all the veterans and just build through all of our young players? Or would you
trade some of the? I'm not going to be giving away.
Or would you trade some of the vets, trade a couple of the young guys for a really good player that might fit next to RJ?
It depends on the young players, and it depends on the player. Like, if we could trade Randle and some other players for Paul George, I might do that.
Okay. The other question. Mitchell Robinson. It's the other contract debate that we haven't discussed. You hoping that we get a extension done? Or are you hoping that we sign him in the offseason?
I'm hoping more so. I'm hoping that we get a deal more than an extension. I care more about the deal than I care about the extension. I don't want to pay Mitchell Robinson too much money.
What's too much money?
Long term. Anything more than 10 a year.
He's going to get more than 10 a year.
Well, I shouldn't say anything more than 10 a year. Anything that's going to be around.
He might get
anything
a contract
more than what Robert Williams would bring, would make in a contract. That's the limit that I would go. The Robert Williams standard.
You want me to look
that's
up?
what he's going to bring. Dunking, blocking, and rebounding. He's going to be the head of your defense, but You can get guys like that for pretty cheap. JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard. You shouldn't put too much of your cap space into that. Clint Capella, I understand he's a high paid center, but how much of an impact does he really have on the Hawks compared to Mitch? You get what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Yeah, just for comparative, I just looked up Robert Williams' contract. Average salary is $12 million a year. First year is 10.7, second is 11.5, third is 12.4, fourth is 13.2, and then he is an unrestricted free agent in 2026. It looks to me, and we didn't bring this up earlier because I couldn't remember which game it was, but it looks to me like Mitch is still evolving his game offensively. He's trying to anyway, around the rim. He's put up a couple of hook shots that have missed, but he's attempting them now. And it seems like he's trying to do some post moves in the paint. Have you noticed that as well? Not really.
Yeah, and that's why. No, I've noticed it, but the kind of player that's going to deserve the contract that he wants has that already solidified.
That's true.
Get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. There's no guarantee that he's going to get there. There's no guarantee. Jericho Sims is already a better post player than Mitchell Robinson is, but Mitchell Robinson is still the better overall player. It's tough. It's tough. And I have no faith that Jericho Sims is ever going to be as good as Mitch is right now. I think he's going to come close. He's going to approximate a percentage, but he's not
Maybe
going
he's not going to dominate as much as Mitch can dominate, but yeah.
He's not. And that's the thing. Like, you can be a really good player. You can even put up similar stats, which I don't think he's ever going to have a game like Mitch where Mitch can get a double-double with all his rebounds being offensive rebounds. Like, that is amazing and crazy. Jericho is never going to do that, but it's tough. I don't want to see Mitch go at the end of the day.
Never.
I don't want to see Mitch go. All right.
If we see Mitch go, I want it to be a sign and trade. That's what I left out. If Mitch doesn't re-sign with us and we can't come up with a way to extend him, I want to see us trade him for something back. I just don't want to lose him for nothing.
Agreed. All right.
And we have picks this year. We could draft another center who does the same things.
Also true. Also true. All right. Let's move on to predictions, French.
So last week, JAH predicted that the Knicks would go 2-2. So he would choose his predictions first this week.
I want to get.
The Knicks will play Pistons, Chicago.
Oh, snap.
Charlotte, and Cleveland.
Dang.
Who you got?
Ooh.
What
Can't believe I won again.
Yeah.
So, Pistons aren't playing well. Chicago got their first. They were on a losing streak before they got their first win over the Cavs. Both of those teams have not been playing well. And the Hornets, we just beat them. They might be coming back for some revenge after we beat them. I see no reason why we would, if we have a healthy Mitch, see no reason why we can't just repeat what we did the last time. I'm going 3-1. I don't know. I think that the Knicks have a chance without Randle. Let me be clear. I think they have a chance to win all 4 of these games with the Bulls seeming to be on the decline and not having ball on the floor at this point in time. I believe he's out for the season. But yeah. So that's an advantage there. I could see them winning that game. I could see them losing that game. And I already gave my reasoning for the Hornets. They might be coming back to try to get that revenge game against the Knicks when they come. So I could see the Knicks winning that game. I could see them losing that game. But I don't think that they're going to lose both. I could see them winning all 4 of these games, but I can also say, like, nah, more than likely they're going to lose one of those 2 games, the Bulls, the Hornets, even the Cavs they could lose against. The Cavs were playing really well earlier this year, and they've been on the decline as well. I see the Knicks going 3-1. Only one that I know that they're definitely winning is the Pistons. I'm going to say they're going to beat the Pistons. They're going to lose to the Bulls. They're going to beat the Hornets. They're going to beat the Cavs. But any one of those last 3 teams, I think that the Knicks can lose.
Yeah, by the time this comes out, we would have already played the Pistons game. I think we're gonna take that one. I think the Bulls, we're probably gonna fall to them, and we'll beat the Hornets and lose to the Cavs. So I got us going 2-2.
That's a good prediction. If I wasn't going 3-1, I would go 2-2.
Yeah, I don't think the Bulls are gonna lose to us.
The Bulls have you seen?
I was leaning towards 4-0 too.
This is the only time where I'm like, yo, I could legitimately go in 2, but I don't think that highly of any of these teams. I think the Knicks could beat all of these teams if they're playing the way that they've been playing. I think they could go 4-0, really. So I split the baby and said 3-1. I think 3-1 is the most likely outcome because, yeah, especially the Bulls and the Cavs, if they continue to play as poorly as they've been playing, yeah, the Knicks can take one or both of those games. So, all right, I think that's a good prediction by you, French. Hopefully,
I would have did 3-1 if I went first.
Would you? It's because I know you, sir.
Yeah, I would have.
If you had gone first and gone 3-1, I would have had a tough choice between 2-2 and 4-0, but I might have gone 4-0. Honestly, to me it's just depending on. Honestly, it's depending on if Julius is playing. Honestly, do I think the Knicks could go 4-0 with Julius on the court? Yeah, but I don't trust Julius enough to play within the offense that we have been playing over these last few games, and that's how they've been winning. All right, French, you got any recommendations?
Yeah.
Oh, before we do that, I just wanted to mention I had side note, little thing plug. Kevin Durant has his own podcast. Didn't know that. I was searching for things to talk about this week, and I found out that Kevin Durant has a podcast and a YouTube called Etc. with KD, where him and his boy are the Etceteras with KD, where him and his boy are Eddie Gonzalez are talking about, whatever. Since I think it may be a weekly podcast, maybe a bi-weekly. I'm not entirely sure. I happened to listen to it. It just came out a few days ago. They were talking about the Knicks game against the Nets versus Knicks game, and he brought up a couple things. I was going to play it on here, but we have to figure that part out as far as media. It might just have to be audio only, but I will post the links to the clips where he's talking about the Knicks, his thoughts on Evan Fournier, him talking about how he hates French players because they knocked him out of the Olympics, and anytime he plays against them, he just wants to beat them, and he wants, but when it's outside the court, when he sees them on the street, it's all love. Evan Fournier is one of those guys that he just wants to kill him on the court. He talked about him holding his hand where he's
saying you tiny, you little.
And he said, yeah, I called him a mini. I called him a mini. So he talked about that. He also talked about, I'm not gonna link this part because there's too many links for me to do for somebody else's podcast, but he's talking about just the rivalry between the Nets and the Knicks. How the Knicks fans love, they put a billboard right outside his window to have him come to New York and all that stuff. And it was a very interesting podcast, the parts that were about the Knicks. And he just really talks about everything. It's not all Knicks related. So, but if you want to hear Katie's thoughts and all that stuff, I would suggest y'all check that out. I'll
check that out. I ain't hear it.
I'll post the small clips, and from there you can watch the full video. All right, French, you have any recommendations for us?
We're gonna use this week to give the listeners time to just watch all the previous recommendations, because I know there's no way that they watched everything. It's impossible. The Wire's like 4 seasons. The Boondock, like I ain't even finished watching it. So if I ain't finished watching it, how you finish watching it? So we're gonna give the listeners some time to just go back. I know they skipped over a few of my recommendations. Don't skip a single one, because I took time to think these through. They all good. Every single recommendation I gave you was a good movie or a good TV show. So go back and watch one of those. And stay tuned for the next recommendation.
Well, you guys can always count on JAH to have a recommendation for you, because JAH likes to watch anime. I started watching, oh no, I currently blanked on what the show I've watched. Oh no, I remember now. Black Clover. Started watching Black Clover. I'm still getting into it. Seems to be an interesting anime show. It's about 2 orphans raised in a church in a land where everything is, done with magic. Magic is the currency with which everything is done. And one of the orphans, they raised as brothers. One of the orphans has absolutely no magic, but he's approaches everything like, I'm not done. I'm gonna do it. And the other brother is just quiet. He starts off as a crybaby, and then once he's saved by his brother, he decides that he's going to achieve the same goal as his brother, which is to become the Wizard King and bring happiness and good things to their family. So I just started watching it. It seems to be a good show. I haven't seen anything that, it's not boring. I want to see where it goes. I want to see where because I haven't seen any villains or anything like that, just minor villains, minor characters. And it's just basically character building as far as where I'm at. But I'm very interested to see what happens as these 2 orphan brothers who are not related, they develop their own rivalry to see who's going to be the Wizard King first. So if you're looking for something, if you guys basically spend the whole week watching everything that we recommend, watch Black Clover until next week.
I'm about to switch the recommendations to a monthly thing, because
it's too hard,
I'll be giving out some stuff that take a minute to watch. Nah, I'm saying because I don't want to recommend something unless I finished it. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to watch something, thoroughly enjoy it,
right?
And then if I feel like it's something I should recommend to people, that's when I'm gonna throw it on the podcast. Because coming up with it weekly, I'm gonna just start throwing out anything.
In case anybody wants to know, our producer wants y'all to know, her prediction is 4-0 this week, as it is every week. So yeah, if the Knicks go 4-0, she will win next week's predictions. But yeah, all right. Unless you got anything else to say, French, we're gonna sign off.
We're about to stop right at the 2-hour mark.
All righty.
We're going to sign right off right at the 2-hour mark. We got, 15 seconds? Let's get to it. Go ahead.
All right. Once again, y'all, thank y'all for listening. Make sure y'all like, subscribe. Make sure y'all pass this off on to your friends. Let them know about us. We appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Thank you for listening to
The Knicks Take Podcast. The Knicks Take Podcast.
Peace.
The Knicks Take Podcast.
Peace.
That boy is good.
That intro music was Broadway Boo by Gotti B, formerly known as Bugatti Blade. You can find us on Twitter at The Knicks Take. You can also find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Thank you for listening.